Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you might make you furious. You could be sitting on coins worth thousands of dollars, and you don't even know it. People are out here throwing away nickels, spending them like they're nothing, while collectors are hunting these exact same coins for serious cash. We're talking about the Monticello Jefferson Nickel, that ordinary-looking 5-cent coin that could secretly be worth a small fortune. And today, I'm exposing the top 3 most valuable Jefferson Nickels that are exploding in the market right now. Different mint marks, rare conditions, insane demand, and values that might shock you. So let's get started. First up, the legendary 1978 Jefferson Nickel, without a mint mark, a coin that quietly exists in circulation, yet hides a surprising potential value that collectors are chasing even today. Let's travel back in time for a moment. The Jefferson Nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it has remained one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. The coin features Thomas Jefferson on the front, a tribute to the 3rd President of the United States, and on the reverse side, the iconic Monticello Jefferson's historic home in Virginia. By 1978, millions upon millions of these nickels were being produced. Most were struck in Philadelphia, which at the time did not use a mint mark on nickels. That means if you find a 1978 nickel without a mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia, completely normal, or so it seems. But here, where things start to get interesting, while the majority of these coins were made for everyday use, not all of them came out perfectly. Subtle variations, striking errors, and condition differences are what separate an ordinary coin from a highly valuable one. And in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest detail can make a massive difference. The 1978 Jefferson Nickel carries the familiar portrait of Jefferson on the obverse, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty 1978." On the reverse, Monticello is depicted in fine detail, along with the words "EPLUBUSUNUM, MONTICELLO" and 5 cents. At first glance, nothing unusual. But collectors look much deeper. They examine the sharpness of the strike, how clearly Jefferson's hair details appear, how crisp the steps of Monticello are. In fact, one of the most sought-after features is something called full steps. This refers to the clarity of the steps leading up to Monticello. Coins with fully visible, uninterrupted steps are extremely rare, especially in circulated condition. And then there are minting errors, off-center strikes, doubled dies, die cracks, and other anomalies. A 1978 nickel without a mint mark that also carries a noticeable error becomes instantly more desirable. Now let's talk about rarity, because this is where value begins to rise. Technically, the 1978 Philadelphia nickel is rare in terms of mintage. Millions were produced, but rarity in coin collecting is not just about how many were made, it's about how many survive in exceptional condition. Most 1978 nickels you find today are heavily circulated. They've lost their shine, their details are worn, and their surfaces carry decades of use. Finding one in high-grade condition, especially with strong details and minimal wear, is incredibly difficult. That's exactly why collectors are willing to pay serious money for the right coin. In average circulated condition, a 1978 nickel might only be worth a few cents above face value. But if you happen to find one with outstanding detail, minimal wear, and especially full steps, the value can jump dramatically. High-grade examples have been known to sell for $185,000. And when you add a rare mint error into the mix, the price can climb even higher in the collector market. There have been auction results where pristine or near-perfect examples of this coin graded at the top levels have reached into the $376,000 range. That's a massive leap from just 5 cents. So what should collectors and everyday people look for? First, don't ignore your pocket change. That's where many valuable coins are discovered. Look closely at any 1978 nickel without a mint mark. Check the details of Monticello, especially the steps. The clearer they are, the better. Next, examine the overall condition. Coins with less wear, fewer scratches, and stronger luster are always more valuable. Even small improvements in condition can mean big increases in price. Also, keep an eye out for unusual features. Anything that looks off, doubling in the text, strange marks from the minting process, or irregular shapes could indicate an error coin. And perhaps most importantly, consider having potentially valuable coins professionally graded. A certified grade can dramatically increase buyer confidence and market value. The 1978 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark reminds us of something powerful. Value is not always obvious. Sometimes, the most ordinary objects carry extraordinary potential. That small coin sitting unnoticed in a jar or drawer might not just be spare change. It could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Next up, we are diving into a coin that many people completely overlook. Yet in the right condition, it can become a surprising conversation piece in the world of collectors. The United States Monticello Jefferson 5-cent coin from 1963, especially the no mint mark variety found in unusual worn and rusty-looking condition. To understand why this small nickel can attract attention, we first need to go back to its origin. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. It features Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse side and his historic Monticello estate on the reverse. By 1963, the United States Mint was producing millions of these coins during a period of heavy circulation. Coins from this era were not designed to be rare at the time. They were everyday money passing through countless hands, vending machines, cash registers, and pockets across America. The 1963 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark typically indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. These coins were mass-produced, but what makes certain examples stand out today is not the date alone. It is their condition, surface characteristics, and preservation history. A coin described as rusty condition is actually somewhat misleading in technical numismatic terms, because nickels are made primarily of copper and nickel, not iron, so true rust does not occur. However, environmental damage, oxidation, staining, and corrosion can create a dark, rough, or reddish-brown appearance that collectors often refer to in casual language as rusty. Now, when we closely examine the features of this coin, the front shows the detailed portrait of Thomas Jefferson with the inscription, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1963. The reverse displays Monticello, Jefferson's famous estate, along with the inscriptions EPLUBUSUNUM, MONTCLLO, and 5 cents. Even in worn condition, these design elements remain recognizable, and sometimes coins with heavy circulation carry a unique historical character that polished examples simply do not have. In terms of rarity, the 1963 Jefferson nickel is not rare in the traditional sense. Millions were minted, and many still exist today. However, what changes everything is condition and eye appeal. A heavily worn, darkened, or environmentally damaged example is generally considered low-grade in numismatic standards. Yet paradoxically, certain collectors and novelty buyers become interested in unusual-looking coins, especially if the surface damage creates a dramatic appearance or if the coin has an unusual tunning pattern. Collector demand for a 1963 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel in damaged condition is usually not driven by rarity alone, but by curiosity, era-like appearance, or aesthetic uniqueness. Serious coin investors typically focus on high-grade, uncirculated versions, but the collector market is broad, and even lower-grade coins can find buyers in niche segments, especially online marketplaces where visual uniqueness sometimes attracts attention. When we talk about current market value, it is important to be realistic. In normal circulated condition, this coin is usually worth just face value or a few cents above it. Even in worn or damaged, rusty-looking condition, it typically does not reach high investment levels. However, in rare cases where a coin has unusual tunning, dramatic environmental damage that creates visual uniqueness, or is paired with a recognized error, it may sell anywhere from $157,000 depending on buyer interest. Claims of $278,000 for this specific type of coin in damaged condition are generally not supported by standard numismatic pricing guides unless there is a verified mint error or exceptional rarity involved. For collectors who are interested in Jefferson nickels like this, the most important tip is to always examine coins carefully under good lighting. Look for sharp details on Jefferson's portrait, check the Monticello steps on the reverse, and compare with known grading standards. Avoid assuming that discoloration or damage automatically increases value. Most of the time it actually reduces it. However, if you ever find a coin with unusual strike errors, double dies, off-center strikes, or strong proof-like surfaces, it is worth getting it professionally evaluated by a coin grading service. The 1963 Jefferson Nickel reminds us that not every old coin is rare, but every coin carries a piece of history. Even a worn, darkened 5-cent piece has passed through a real moment in time, real hands, real transactions, and real American history. For collectors, the true value is not always just in dollars, but in the story the coin tells. The 1963 Jefferson Nickel without mint mark in heavily worn or rusty-looking condition is not a high-value rarity in the traditional market, but it remains an interesting collectible for those who appreciate historical circulation coins. Its true worth depends on condition, eye appeal, and collector interest rather than scarcity alone, making it a simple yet fascinating piece of American numismatic history. Next up, the legendary United States Jefferson 5-cent coin, specifically the 1960 Monticello nickel in circulated condition. At first glance, it may look like just another small piece of change that once passed through countless hands, bought coffee, paid bus fares, or sat forgotten in an old jar. But in the world of coin collecting, even something this common can become a topic of excitement, debate, and sometimes misunderstanding about value. The history begins with the Jefferson Nickel series itself, first introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. The design features Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the front, while the back showcases his famous estate, Monticello. This design has remained a symbol of American coinage for decades, and by 1960, it was already a well-established part of everyday currency in the United States. The 1960 D version was minted in Denver, which is why it carries the small D mint mark on the reverse side. During this period, millions upon millions of nickels were produced for circulation. The United States economy was growing, and coins like this were made in large quantities to support daily transactions across the country. That high mintage is an important reason why most 1960 D nickels are considered rare in the traditional sense. When you examine the coin more closely, the design details are quite familiar but still interesting. Jefferson's portrait on the front shows a calm, composed expression, and the word liberty is inscribed beside him along with the year 1960. On the reverse, Monticello is displayed with clean architectural lines, symbolizing stability and history. The motto EPLUBUSUNUM and United States of America surround the design, along with the denomination 5 cents. In circulated condition, meaning the coin has been used in everyday transactions, the 1960 D nickel usually shows signs of wear. The details may be slightly faded, the shine is gone, and small scratches or marks from handling are normal. This is exactly what you would expect from a coin that has been in pockets and cash registers for decades. Now, when it comes to rarity, this is where many people get confused. The 1960 D Jefferson nickel is not a rare coin in general circulation. It was produced in very large numbers, and most examples are still easy to find today. However, collectors sometimes look for specific conditions or special varieties that can increase interest. For example, coins with strong strikes, full steps on Monticello, or mint errors can attract more attention than typical circulated pieces. Because of that, the demand in the collector market is usually based more on condition than rarity. A heavily worn 1960 D nickel is generally considered common, while a sharply struck uncirculated example might hold more collectible appeal. But even then, it does not usually reach extreme price levels. In terms of current market value, a circulated 1960 D Jefferson nickel typically remains very close to its face value of 5 cents. In some cases, depending on condition and buyer interest, it might sell for $267,000 in bulk coin lots or small collector deals. Only in rare situations, such as certified high-grade uncirculated coins or specific mint errors, can values rise significantly, sometimes into the $334,000. Claims of $4 million for standard circulated examples are not realistic in the actual coin market. Still, the excitement around coins like this continues because collectors enjoy the possibility of discovering something special. Many people go through old change, inherited collections, or estate finds hopping to spot rare varieties or high-grade pieces that others may have missed, For collectors who are interested in Jefferson Nickels, the best advice is to focus on education and careful inspection. Learning how to identify strike quality, mint marks, and potential errors is far more valuable than chasing hype. Always compare coins with verified references or grading standards, and avoid assuming that every old coin is automatically rare or highly valuable. The 1960 Jefferson nickel is an important part of American coin history, but in circulated condition, it remains a very common coin rather than a high-value rarity. Its real worth lies more in its historical presence and its role in everyday life during the 1960s than in large market prices. For collectors, it serves as a reminder that true value in coin collecting often comes from knowledge, patience, and attention to detail rather than rumors or exaggerated claims. And sometimes, the most ordinary coin in your pocket is the one that teaches you the most about how real numismatic value actually works. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into rare and valuable coins. Happy collecting!